I like to kind of take a marker at the beginning of the class. And what I mean is we're just going to do a quick, oh, there's Maureen, good. Um, to take a marker kind of to see where we are right now. And then at the end of the day, just notice any shifts or any changes in your, when you sit, when you do meditation. So, whoops, Maureen must be having trouble getting on. Are you there, Maureen? Can you hear us? Hello. Okay, well, I turned the admit thing off. So Maureen, you can just join us. So let's just take a moment to, hi, good morning, good
It
afternoon, almost
worked.
evening.
It worked. Thank you.
Great.
It's just slow. It's tired. Thank you.
All right. So let's just do an initial check-in, just a kind of grounding meditation, which is really, we can do this kind of a meditation anytime during the day. Just stop. I call it the pause, and I'll talk about that. Just stop and notice, oh, I'm here. I'm in a body. I'm sitting and I notice my spine and straighten it. Sometimes I need to pull my chin in a little bit to feel the spine and straighten it. And I feel my feet on the floor and I feel my weight, and I just take a few breaths and I just notice being here and letting go of whatever it took to get here and just arriving and feeling that sense of being connected to the earth. Really, as we do this work, we'll feel more and more part of the earth, and the earth being part of us. Like the way that we witness each other, that we show up in each other's nervous system. The earth of which we're made is also shows up in our nervous system. So we just want to honor the earth and all the elements as we begin today. The fiery sun, the light, the air, the breath, the water, the blood that runs through our body, the earth of which we're made. And we honor the 7 directions. And we especially turn to the north to just bow in gratitude to the ancestors, knowing that the ancestors are here with us today. They're always with us. But just to notice and appreciate, without them, we wouldn't be here. And that we might want to dedicate today to the ancestors, because much of the healing that is here for us to do through the meditation process, through the work that we do, is actually ancestral. And so when we do this work, we're actually doing it for all our ancestors as well as our descendants. So just breathe into that sense of our lineage standing behind us in support of us. A long line all the way back through time. And yet they're with us right now. And so we honor them with our breath, with our awareness, with our curiosity, and with our courage. It takes a lot of courage to set aside a day to do this kind of work, to go inward, to pay attention. And so just to honor ourselves for having the courage and taking the time to create more space in our life, to integrate and heal the wounding from the past, and to open ourselves to the possibilities of the future. And that always happens in the present. So we're bringing ourselves into a state of presence. And what is presence but bringing our perception and our being presence together and zooming in and we're allowing ourselves to not only feel the exterior world around us, the room that we're in, the land that we're on, the neighborhood we're in, but opening to the inner world, which for the most part we neglect to really pay attention. And so today is really a dedication to honoring our interiority, and to welcome everything that's there as it is, not as it should be, so that we can create more space in our lives. And so we just begin that way and take a few more breaths. Again, feeling your feet on the floor, feeling the body, and bringing ourselves back. And since we're all part of the advanced course, just to take a moment to take in the gallery view, all the people here. And really getting a felt sense of each person, remembering that, yeah, they may be out in another place, thousands of miles away, and yet they actually are also in my nervous system. So without projecting anything on them, we open our body to feel them in us, which is impossible to do with your mind. That'll only be a characterization of whoever reminded you of it, or who it reminds you of, or, something that happened long ago. But to actually let the person, to feel them in your body. It's like a softness, an opening. It's really being in that third level of listening, the empathic, deeper awareness of just being, just being. There's no trying in being. There's no doing in being. There's an alertness, there's a curiosity, there's a releasing into not knowing, which is not a doing, it's a touching in. We'll talk about that. So just being with people is probably one of the most difficult meditations. can bring up a lot of shame. Oh, can they see that part of me that I don't want anybody to know about? Or a lot of projection, or a lot of safety issues. Do I feel safe? Do they know I feel unlovable? I'm not enough. All those stories can come up. And what we want to do is just notice them and release them. And it's a kind of grasping that we'll talk about today. How the mind grasps. You've all heard me say many times, but I'll say it again, is that, we live inside of a story, a narrative that's shaped by our past, by our familial experiences, our ancestors, our culture, our language, and of course, all of our experiences in the world. But just to start out and recognize, whatever that story is, it's never you. If we put you on an MRI and we sent you through, there would be no identity. There'd be no Tina or Pippa or Vincent. What would there be? Energy, movement, space, and structure. And how is it we end up with this sense of being separate? And so the spiritual path is to heal the wound of separation. At the heart of hearts of all spiritual paths is non-duality, not two. And that's why we practice being with each other in this way. So let's just take a couple deep breaths. And I'd like to start out, I want to make this very specific to the issues that you're working with. This could be, a 3-week course like Kristen just did. And we could do a lot of meditation and do a lot of deep things. But I particularly want to work with, what are the issues that you're having in your meditation practice? What are the things that are what you would call disturbances or issues that you have that come up? And so I want to start there, and then I'm going to do a series of meditations through the day. But I want to tailor this precisely to what you need. So that means each of you has an opportunity now just to speak. And all the rules, all the agreements that we made, the agreements that we made in the course all apply here, of course, that what happens here stays here, and that not having crosstalk, and yeah, all the agreements that we have. So all of you know them very well, so I won't go into them like that. So who would like to start out with that? I'm going to change and put 2 views here. And yeah, beautiful. So this is just to look and see, when you sit down to meditate, what is it that stops you from meditating? What is it that you feel gets in the way of meditating? What are the things that, that disrupt your meditation? What are the difficulties that you have? Just, I want to get a personal sense, since we're all in the advanced course, of what are the issues that we're working with. So let's just one by one, whoever wants to start and just jump in there and say, where are you in your meditation? And I know some people have longer practices, some people have very short practice. The one thing about meditation, there's no such thing as a bad meditation, ever. The only bad meditation is the one you don't do. That's the only bad meditation. And I'll explain that in greater detail as we go along. But so whether you're doing 5 minutes of meditation or 5 hours of meditation a day, it doesn't really matter. It's all the right meditation for you at this time. So yeah, please, Kristen.
So I have no problem getting to the cushion, but once I'm there, I start worrying. And then I notice that when I start worrying, I don't want to look at it. So then I start daydreaming, and then time will just pass and I don't know where I am. So it's like, I know I want to stop wandering off like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what keeps you stuck there, though. The wanting to not be there. The wanting to not wander off is not what's happening. So what there is in that to do is to pay attention to the wandering off. And just gently, you can do, there's lots of ways to do that. You can say thinking, wandering, but it's this thing of, I don't want this meditation, I want the ideal meditation. I want the one that I read about in the books from Maharishi or someone. Well, that's not my meditation. My meditation is the one that's happening now, including don't want to do it, worrying, daydreaming, but just to let go of that. And let go is not doing. That's a common mistake in meditation. Letting go is not a doing, it's a touching. It's the witnessing part. When I talk about presencing, we're zooming in our awareness and our perception. We're zooming in. The first stage is mindfulness. We become mindful, and we're seeing that. And instead of trying to push it away or just notice, oh, I don't want to look at this. Because what we're doing is making space for what is, but what gets in the way in meditation is always that this is not the right meditation. I should be doing it some other way. But
so just let it happen.
Yes, let it happen.
Okay.
But
okay.
But the part with the caveat of that, notice grasping. So worrying is grasping, not wanting to look at it is grasping. So you notice that you're grasping and you touch it. So the second stage, we presence, and then we witness. Witness is where the split comes between I and awareness. So now awareness is here when I'm in that place in meditation, that suddenly I say, who's watching? I'm watching my mind. Well, who's the I that's watching my mind? So the witnessing part is what allows us to touch in. And the embracing, the third part, is to love it just the way it is and accept it and honor it. You're only needing to make space. There is absolutely nothing at all that needs fixing. There's nothing broken. Every single thing that's happening has a design function, mostly designed to protect your identity, which is always protecting its own survival. So when space gets made, the identity goes, uh-oh, we're going into dangerous territory here, you know. And another thing I just want to say is we think that there's a destination to get to, that pretty soon, if I meditate long enough, there'll be, you know, ponies and unicorns and flowers and little hearts or something, or there'll be this kind of spaciousness, you know, that just everything will be white light. And that's wonderful if that happens. But if you're making space for things to exist, that means that those things that are really annoying to you about you will come up because you made space for them. You're no longer suppressing them. So what there is to do is to witness and embrace them when they come up. So we presence, we touch in, and we embrace those. We love that part. You know, I'm doing a class here at the college on emotional reparenting. And it's basically what we're doing, what we're talking about is, you know, those wounded parts is, you know, yeah, there's a lot of, you know, and I'll go through some of that later, some of the decisions we make when we have trauma or get wounded and how that affects us. So again, and I'll say this many ways, probably, this idea of letting go, the mind automatically says, oh, I need to do something. And when I say letting go, I'm talking about letting go of the grasping, of the attachment, of the holding on, and allowing it to be exactly as it is and exactly as it isn't. Is that a good start then for that inquiry, Kristen?
Yeah. Yes. Very good. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Thanks. That probably brought up more questions for other people. So who else? What else is going on in the meditation? Lori, I think you're ready to do it, right?
I appreciate what you said, Kristen, because I didn't know how quite to arrive, and now I'll pick up where you just brought us. I'm experiencing it's a difference in my meditation in terms of recent difficulties versus something more inherent about myself. So it's like, it's that same sort of feeling where I'm starting to meditate and I know I'm contracting. Like there's something that has come up very specifically for me in my awareness of, I'm kind of overwhelming myself with this new awareness that I really don't recognize my successes. I will be off to the next thing and not celebrating having just written a book. Like, it's just, and there are many of these things, and then I'm now overwhelmed because my awareness is heightened, and I'm trying to create this space with meditation, but it's like I'm in a contracted place, and a little bit stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would call that time bound, that you're time bound. So, you know, for the most part, we're stuck in the remembered past, which you've heard me talk about many times, and the imagined future. And very little amount of time are we actually here. So you said a bunch of things there. So first of all, about the not acknowledging the success, that's really about completion and honorable closure. And that's not necessarily a meditation issue. It's really I mean, it can certainly be a meditation, but it's really about stopping to recognize, oh, I did that. You know, my therapist says that to me when I go my therapist. Did you notice that you did that? Did you, you know, because I do the same thing. I just skip over and I'm focused on, you know, what's next or who needs this or how to, you know, all that. But there's really a settling in. It could be a kind of sitting meditation to just honor. I put a lot of work into this book or whatever. You know, I made a lot of sacrifices for it.
Mm.
Just want to honor not just myself, but my ancestors, because they had something to do with that. I wouldn't have been doing this now if it hadn't been for them and the issues that they'd had to deal with. So that's a closure. But the other part about in the meditation, recognizing successes or when those things come up, that's the ego wanting to see me, like that. And so, yeah, you can, it's the same thing as to say, I see you, you know, but don't ride the pony. Don't jump on its back, you know. It's
Mm.
like, you know, let it just go by, you know. Oh, there goes the, you know, I don't recognize myself, or I'm not enough, or I'm this, you know, just recognize it. And then bring yourself back to center. Center means that I'm grounded, I'm in my body. You know, for all of the questions that you're going to ask, the ultimate answer is come back to your body. You know? But there's a lot of nuances that I want to go through with you, and it's really good. So I know the things that you're grappling with there and can better support you. There's a place that I don't know how many of you have touched it. I suspect most of you have, but there's a rich place of stillness that whole identity of who you consider yourself to be just melts away. And that place is so sweet and so powerful. And oftentimes it's so powerful, it's overwhelming, and it pulls us out of it when we get that, touch that. How many people actually know what I'm talking about? Have had that experience? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So we pull ourselves back because it's like, oh shit, what was that? And that's what we want to cultivate. And what's always going to be coming up, though, is those things that are, there is no space for, you know, there's no space for me to be a bad person. There's no space for me to be stupid, or there's no space for me to be embarrassed by something. You know, there's all these things that are frozen parts of us. And later on, I'll go over some of the ways that they get created. But if we are in the past, well, let's put it this way, presence is always here. Mostly we're not. It's always a place of bringing ourselves back into presence when we go off, and to breathe into and to allow that place to be, and to get into the sweetness of that still place. And, you know, more and more when we get in that, we'll have incredible intuition. We'll be able to really hear the emergent future. We'll be able to feel more light in our bodies and coming in. When I talk about replenishing, you know, this is an advanced course, so I can talk about that. You know, how do you fill your gas tank? How do you keep going? For the most part, we're burning like fossil fuel. We're burning our own energy. But people who are really in touch with that still place and that deep presence, that magnetic presence, are feeding on light. They're not feeding on their own material. But for the most part, in terms of the spiritual journey, we are feeding on, well, we're feeding on food, we're feeding on shopping, we're feeding on recognition, we're feeding on things that we possess, we're feeding on what we're going to do next. You know, that's literally, we're feeding on that. It depletes us. So it's light that resources us. And the way to create more inner light is to create more space so that the light can come through, the light of your soul can come in. And, you know, towards the end, we'll work, you know, on that kind of a light meditation. So, did I kind of answer your question, Laura? I'm just going to go through everybody and pick on areas. So is there more to that you wanted to?
I so appreciate how fully you answered that. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, I like doing this. I'm so much better at being with what's arising and teaching from that place than following a script. I looked at the script I had for this and I went, this is all people in the advanced course. I don't need a script to teach this class. So so I, you know, yeah. So who's next? Celia, please. Yes, I saw.
I appreciate what you just said. Not, you know, just being and not having to rely on a script. Just want to resonate with that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I think for myself, meditation, I think it's interesting. I think there's times when there's been this tug of war that, you know, I'm not sitting at the cushion enough because my life has become, well, my life was extremely full while I was working full time as well, and taking care of my mom, and just didn't seem like I had the kind of time that I was used to having to be able to sit for, you know, half hour to an hour. And so I beat myself up about, oh, I'm not doing my meditations, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But then I, you know, was brought to the awareness that, you know, just being in presence is a meditation. I mean, being present with the moment. So I think I still like those sitting at the cushion kinds of meditations, but I don't associate myself so much with that. And I try to sort of look at it like, okay, my walks with the dog in the morning through the park is a way for me to connect to nature. I have a resonance with nature, and we have these beautiful trees where I live. But I think the biggest challenge is, you know, it just depends on when I wake up in the morning and, okay, when does my day start, you know, externally, but then what are the things I have to do before I get there? Like, you know, getting my mother's meal ready, breakfast, you know, the dog, whatever. What are the things I have to do before I can get started with, let's say, the 8 o'clock meetings we have in the morning? Okay, so it depends on the day and how early my day starts with the external world, the kind of meditation we're going to have today. Yeah, and I kind of think that for me, it's that the issue of time, quote unquote, or the issue of having such a full life or things so busy is a way of avoiding being with some stillness.
Good catch.
Yes. And so, you know, I feel like I'm taking an opportunity right now to become more aware of that and to watch that, you know, and to watch that.
Yeah.
How I do that. So
that's good. That's the place to start, is exactly there, to watch it. Yes, pay attention to it. Absolutely. So we have a really screwed up sense of time. You know, we all have the same 24 hours,
Mm.
but we don't in a sense, because we all have different relationship to time. And we're really in the spiritual practice, we're looking at time space. It's not time, linear time. The Greeks have logos and chronos, and another one that kind of holds it all, which I forgot the third one. Anybody remember what the third?
Kairos.
Yeah, I said kairos, logos, and then there's something else. I think it starts with an M. Anyway, that's kind of the sea that the waves come from, and the movement. So the important one is that logos is logical time. So logos is time. There's a past. You know, I was born, and there's this kind of linear direction to the future, and that's what's embedded in our psyche and our language and our identity. That is, you know, one type of time. But kairos is kind of like the fruit is ready to pick, or, you know, it's an idea whose time has come. You know, right now we need to create space for a new future to emerge. And that's one of the reasons I'm so adamant about this work, because we can't hear the future that wants to emerge, because we're so noisy in our head, in our body, in our living. So this chronos time it's always now. It's never not now. Even when you're thinking of the past, it's not the past, it's now. And when you're thinking of the future, it's not the future, it's now. Integrated past is history. Unintegrated past is destiny. If I don't integrate the parts from my past that have been wounded or have been shut down, then I'm guaranteed to live it again and pass it on to my ancestors. But if I can integrate, digest those things that come up in my meditation that were undigestible, that's integrated past. So that's just, oh yeah, Ray and I were walking on the railroad tracks 25 years ago, trying to keep our balance. You know, it's just like a nice thing that you remember. It's not something that's living you. And for the most part, our identity is living us. And that keeps us stuck in linear time. Somebody asked Gandhi, how do you have time to meditate with all the things that are going on, and the war and the this and that? How do you meditate with that? And he says, well, you know, I meditate this long, but when I have a lot on my plate, I meditate twice as long. And so, Celia, when you're talking about that, I'm thinking of, you know, you have so much on your plate, you need to meditate more, not less. Now, walking meditation is great. And I'm going to, on the lunch break, talk about walking meditation. Maureen will be happy about that. We both have the same teacher in walking meditation. But walking the dog in the park is, you know, bringing mindful to us. It's not meditation per se, it's bringing mindfulness. And that's a really powerful and good thing. Just like driving the car and actually noticing, you know, oh, I'm in Pittsburgh. Oh, I'm in Topeka now. You know, what happened in between Pittsburgh and Topeka? I have no idea. I was just driving the car. So there's like these blanks in awareness. So, so just to you said it, Celia, when I said nice catch, is that thing about, and this is really common, and I have it big time. It's this running after, constantly chasing something. And that's a sign of trauma. That is a first-class trauma indication that this is not where I want to be, that somewhere else is this is not where I belong, it's not where I want to be, and I'm on to the next thing. And this relates to what you were saying too, Laura, and not acknowledging and taking the time to honor and ground in that. And so just to notice how much we spend time looking at the ideal, where we should be. You know, I should have my breath is not right. I should be breathing differently when I meditate, or I shouldn't be having these thoughts when I meditate. Again, there's no bad meditation. All that comes up is grist for the mill. It's all exactly what we want. It's just taking the time to do it. And it will give you more space, literally. How's that sound, Celia? The touch?
That resonates.
Yeah.
I mean, it resonates, and doing and being in or embracing a meditative practice for, how should I say? I've had the experience of having more and longer meditations that in some ways what happens, I feel like, is like time gets warped.
Yes.
And whatever needs to get done gets done. But it's not stuck in sort of the linear contractive self. It just happens, or it just flows. So I resonate with what you're saying. Thank you.
Yeah, our whole culture is attainment focused.
Mm-hmm.
And that keeps us busy and moving, and doesn't allow us to really feel the richness and fulfillment of taking a walk in the park with your dog, to really, yesterday I had just an amazing meditation, and then I had a hike afterwards, and all the trees were singing at me, and everything was just, I was just oozing joy. Somebody saw me and went, whoa, what did you smoke or something? I was just so, because I had this deep meditation, and then this walk, and Buddha and I were just out, and I had no sense of time, and then just had this sense of joy that felt so good, and then I wanted to hold on to it, of course, and then it went away, and I realized how much I had to do, and I got busy. Thank you, Celia. Anything else about that?
No, thank you. I kind of feel like some of this is kind of coming out of having been in a very structured environment where there was a lot of focus on outcome, in a very fast pace. And so it's really interesting to me to watch myself with more spaciousness, to kind of fall back more into a rhythm that's more in alignment with my nature.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that you're up against attachment wounds in that one, and that you have to produce and succeed based on an attachment wound somewhere back. Yeah.
Sounds like probably. Like probably so, yes. To explore that deeply at another moment, yes.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Celia. Okay, who's next? How you doing?
Are you calling on me? Because I don't recall volunteering. But I'll go if you want me to go.
Didn't you want to go? I thought.
I mean, no, no, I didn't have my hand up, but I'll be happy to go if you would like. I'm not going to let it be your decision. I'll decide. I'll go. Okay. So all I can do is report on what's happening with me right now in meditation. I can't even remember your original question. I think you were talking about difficulties or roadblocks. I'm not having roadblocks, but I can just tell you what my experience
Please.
is right now, and it's twofold mostly. And one is that, well, I've been, as you know, dealing with doing trauma work and dealing with my own attachment issues from early childhood. And so that stuff from that often arises in meditation. And the other thing is so much that's going on of the suffering in the world right now. I'm very aware and feel it deeply. So every day, at different moments during the day, that arises. For example, I was in my Tai Chi class last week with Dawn, and thank God we're wearing masks. Dawn and I are. Almost nobody else is. And it covers so much of my face, you can't tell when I'm crying. And so it arose during Tai Chi. So just the suffering, just feeling the suffering in the world. And of course, that's from the thought. But I thought, well, I really need to leave so I can blow my nose. But this mask is masking me, so nobody knows. And I need this Qigong. My body needs this grounding and this breath. So I let myself relax into it. And I had that. But so what I'm doing in my meditations when I'm sitting with just sitting and presencing is I notice what arises, I witness, and I'm doing the noticing, who's noticing in a conscious awareness, and then embracing. And it's oftentimes with me, Michael, you know, it's going to be emotional, whatever comes up. And so I notice it. And if it's the personal attachment stuff of my small self, I notice it. And when I see the grasping, I say, okay, that's the thought factory and the grasping. And I might stop with that and hop off of that thought factory wheel and hamster wheel and go into a meditation for myself. And then that will lead to a meta meditation for others. And then, so I'm doing Tonglen also for the suffering that just begins to overwhelm me in meditation. If that happens, I guess what I'm saying is my process involves the presencing and the witnessing and then the embracing, and that leads to overwhelm with, which is grasping. So then I offer Tonglen or meta meditation, and it kind of goes like that. And then I'm sitting and regrounding and breathing again. So that's me right now.
I think that's cool. And I, as you were talking, I was saying, I hope she's doing some Tonglen.
I am. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's so good to do. I find that helpful, but wow. Yes. Very helpful. Mm-hmm.
Those of you who don't know what Tonglen is, it's a type of meditation. I learned it from Pema Chodron, who promoted it quite a bit in all of her books and in our workshops and things. But it's really taking in the pain, including our own suffering, our own pain, the pain of the world, whatever's going on, and taking it in like dark black soot into our body, literally imagining it coming in and then purifying it. I call it sewage disposal, sewage, what do they call that? Sewage treatment. I'm doing sewage treatment. It's coming in, and then I'm literally transforming and sending it out light and goodness and caring, which, you know, I'm doing for people in New Orleans this last week, you know, a lot. Just the, you know, the intensity of that situation. But, you know, when you notice that there's suffering and it's overwhelming you, then instead of turning away from it, which is really one of the basic principles of meditation, instead of turning away, we turn. I'm sorry if it looks weird when I'm looking down because I have all of you here and I can hardly see you up there. So, but turning away, when you have the the feeling of turning away from something, turn towards it as much as you can.
Lean in.
Another way to say that is when I say, I want you to be safe enough to just be a little unsafe. So it's that edge that comes where you touch into the trauma, touch into the difficulty, touch into it, and allow yourself to feel it. Now, I do want to say something about trauma in this sense that comes up to say, one of the things that happens often in many of the like Vipassana and other meditation circles that I've done, and somebody will have a trauma come up and people will say, well, just take it to the cushion. That's not really a great idea. I don't agree with that at all. If you have a trauma come up, touch into it, allow yourself to feel as much as you can feel, but don't let yourself be completely overwhelmed by it, and take it to a teacher to support you, or take it to a therapist. Because I've seen people sitting at Spirit Rock and had that, and they've been re-traumatized basically. So, you know, the meditation I teach is trauma informed. So be trauma informed. You know, we all swim in a sea of trauma, and it's important to know that when you're touching into something that you feel is too much, to stop at that and breathe into it and allow it to be there as much as you can. I'll give you an example. You know, I don't know if I've told you this story, one of my childhood trauma stories, but I had a dog, my first dog, Bourbon. This is Cocker Spaniel. I loved this dog. And I would sleep at night with my hand on him next to the bed, only because my father wouldn't let me have him sleep in the bed with me, you know. And so my dog sometimes would climb over the barbecue and try to follow me to school. And one day I came down the alley coming behind our house, and I found him hanging on the fence. And that whole time, was just a blank. About 10 years ago, or 10 years ago probably, when my stepmother died, she said something to me. You didn't even cry when your dog died. And I realized, of course, I'd found my mother hanging also. So I was completely triggered, and I couldn't even think about that. So in meditations recently, that's been coming up for me. But it was safe to come up, it was okay. And then I actually went to that in my meditation, and went back to that, and tried to remember all the things that happened as much as I can, and recreate that. This is like 70 years later, I'm working on a trauma from when I was 7, right? And I used my dog, Buddha, which I also sleep with my arm on my dog, like I did when I was 7 years old. And so, sometimes the trauma takes a really long time till when there's enough space and enough safety for it to come up and deal with. And, the point I'm making is, don't force it. Don't try to force it to come. Just be with what's arising, and notice how much you want to either run from it or manage it, control it. Those are the areas we run to. We want to control it, or we want to run from it. But that's more doing. And for me, the way I teach meditation, there's nothing to do. Letting go is not a doing. Letting go is a touching and an embracing, a witnessing and an embracing. There's no doing in that. If I'm holding onto this pen like this, I'm just relaxing. Oh, it's gone. So you know you've got trauma when you've got tension in your body. It's in our body. The tension is in our body. And so you don't release the tension by doing exercises or pushing it away. You release the tension by relaxing the muscles around the tension and allowing it to be. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I totally get that and agree with that. And also what you said about the class you're teaching, that's what I'm doing for myself as well, reparenting myself in those trauma times that where
Exactly.
I was, yeah, it's just very helpful.
Yeah, reparenting is, really important. We've got to go back there and do what we couldn't do then and honor the child part of us. Yeah. And I love how deeply you feel, Tina. It's a gift. You have a gift. It's not a curse, it's a gift.
Well, I'm starting to recognize it as a gift. It's been difficult for me all my life. And now I'm just welcoming it and saying, wow, wow, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's, most of us need more rehabilitation in that area. But yeah, thank you. That's great. Okay, how are we doing on time here? Oh my goodness, it's after 11:15. Who wants to go next? Let's have a couple more people go. Jump in there. I'm feeling into it here. Vincent, you ready to go? Vincent, you good? You don't have to.
Are you? I can't hear. I don't know if it's my sound or not. But
Can you hear me now?
I heard that.
Okay.
Maybe it was just through the ether, but I thought I heard my name called. So I'll go. I am new to formal meditation, if you want to call it that. So I'm approaching this with beginner's mind. I'm doing mostly what I would consider just a mindfulness, observation, being a witness. So when something comes up, I'll just say, planning, worry, just like give it a name and go back to my breath. Not, things that I could engage with. I just acknowledge that came up, worry, back to my breath. I haven't had any like traumatic memories that I can't just let go of. So nothing has really come up and bit me. I do know with Joanna Macy's work, what we call breathing through, I didn't know had like a formal name to, so I also will just, breathe in the black specks into my heart and breathe them back out as part of it. And then sometimes I'll shift and there's the little blue dot that where I don't know the formal name, but a Tibetan Buddhist friend of mine told me about it, where you just imagine behind your heart is a little blue dot and you just breathe the energy into the little blue dot. And I think that has something to do with the blue man, which is I think associated with Krishna, and then Hildegard de Bingen has her blue man. So I've just been kind of, I guess, playing with it in a way, and I've been getting a good solid 20 minutes to a half hour. I mean, I'm only into meditation for about a month, well, about 45 days. So definitely, still building a habit, but I've been consistent with it. And I don't recognize anything as a barrier other than, I'm probably doing more mindfulness work than I am like any kind of like meditative technique. And it's interesting hearing other people with how they're doing it. And I'm interested in the trauma meditation because I've always thought meditation was about clearing your mind, not going into something. So I definitely have a lot to learn.
No, beautiful. I think one of the things, so yeah, I think trauma-informed meditation is relatively new. It wasn't something I learned when I, started meditating in my 20s with Eknath Easwaran was my first teacher, actually, or Alan Watts, but Eknath was who I spent time with. Something I really want to underline that's so great that you said, I'm just playing with it. Everyone, your beginner's mind is right on. Everyone, listen to that. Just play with it. There's a great poem by Robert Frost, and it's called Two Tramps at Mud Time. And they're in New England, out of the mud, out of the rain and out of the mud, and they're philosophizing on work. Of course, they're not working, they're philosophizing on work. And the one tramp says to the other one, he says, but yield who will to their separation, but yield who will to their separation. My object in living is to unite my avocation and my vocation. As my two eyes make one in sight, only where love and need are one, and work is play for mortal stakes, is the deed ever really done for heaven and the future's sake. So play, yes, please, play with it. No terminal seriousness in this group, please. Okay. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you. And that may we all keep a beginner's mind and be opened. Yeah. Okay. Lori, you want to go?
Hello. So I find so much richness in everybody's experiences and sharings. And through time, I can relate to so much of it. And so I feel in my body a new pain. And I think this is what is my challenge for now, is very aware of new pain in my body that prevents me from staying in my meditation practice. I mean, I can get to my meditation practice. The challenge of the new pain is preventing me from staying in my meditation practice. So that is where I am right now.
Yeah. That's great. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's a very common experience and a very important thing to recognize. So, I mean, there's no doubt that when we have pain, it's more difficult to do, our sitting meditation. And yet, the pain does not, as you say, prevent you from the meditation. The pain should become the focus in at least some part of the meditation. In other words, what I mean with that, like right now, I'm feeling some pain in my lower back. So I'm breathing into it. I'm feeling that pain. I'm feeling grounded. Automatically, the pain isn't as much as it was when I started, just in that moment. I'm touching into the pain. I'm feeling it. I'm saying to the pain, do you feel me feeling you? I mean, in a way, I make contact. I'm connecting with the pain. Okay. I'm allowing it to be there. I'm asking it, do you have anything that you want to say to me? My pain just said, you spend too much time on the computer. But you see what I'm doing? I'm moving. Fight it, or we get into our story about how it's preventing us from having a good meditation. A good meditation is when you can be with your pain and embrace it and actually discover from it. Because remember, most of our tension originated from some trauma. Body tension is a sign of trauma. And so all of those parts that have been suppressed exist in our body. And when we feel, and it's the same when you're doing yoga also, when you're doing that, you lean into the pain, you feel it, and you bring your awareness and your breath there. And oftentimes that'll just eliminate it, but it will certainly lessen the amount of pain, So I'm glad you brought that point up, because it's really an important pain. And another thing that does not have to be a distraction to your meditation is noise. I have a refrigerator here on the farm that makes so much bloody noise. And it's always, when I'm meditating, it comes on. And it took me a month or two to make friends with it and go, oh, okay, there's that sound that comes up. My teacher of 40 years, Gabrielle Roth, learned how to meditate in Manhattan. Now, if she can learn how to meditate in Manhattan with sirens and all, I can't handle Manhattan more than a week, because I'm like this from all the energy and the noise. Washington, D.C. is the same way. Just, I can't, handle it, but I can meditate. And that's how I handle it when I do that. I think, I don't know, Tina might remember, or Ray, when Marielle videoed me meditating in the LA airport. You can do that, So pain and noise and other things that we think are distractions are only part of our meditation. They're not distractions. And it doesn't make a bad meditation. Yeah, well, yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah. I was meditating. Was it with a client, or was it with, I can't remember, but all of a sudden there were chainsaws in the woods. I'm out in the woods, and there were chainsaws, and I was, like I said yesterday, I was kind of like a joy boy or something. I was just like floating all day. And I just went, oh, chainsaws. Okay, include that and that. You just include it. And you say, and that, that's happening. Okay, getting close to taking a quick bio break here, but Maureen, you want to jump in for a minute? Thank you. That was really great, Laurie. Thank you for bringing that up. Really perfect.
Well, it's been very interesting to listen to other people, and I keep I'm so relaxed I start to nod off. So I hope I get to listen to the recording to get the pieces that I've missed.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock there. Or
Pardon?
almost 8 o'clock there, hey?
Yeah, it's 7:30 at night. And it's very much like October weather. So it's cool, it's cloudy, the wind is blowing. And my guessing there is what is called in Ireland a nice soft day out there,
Right.
which means really wet.
Aye, but it's a dry rain.
Pardon?
I said, when somebody said to me, I think it was John, said, aye, but it's a dry rain.
Right. We lie a lot too. I'd say what interferes with me is one, I have judgments about, because I've been doing meditation for a while and with Thich Nhat Hanh for a while, that I should be doing better. So there's a self-judgment that comes in. And what I notice, what interferes now, because it's hard to get back to my regular practice right now, unless I'm doing walking meditation. And that will revive me very quickly. And I have found an oak tree with 3 trunks. And there's a perfect meditation seat between 2 of them. So I sit in the tree, close to the ground. And that's really lovely, me and the tree.
Beautiful.
But I think there's an anxiety about, I'm letting people down, I'm not staying in touch with people back home. There are all these, it's like a network, it's like a reverse of Indra's net, that there are all these things that I ought to be doing, and they kind of pick at me like a flock of crows. And I get so anxious that things are not getting done, and then I don't sleep, and they come up in the meditation, they come up, well, you can sit for 10 minutes because you really have to go work on this. And I know that I'm trying to do too much, taking on too many things. But I think a lot of it is old fear. And there's some anxiety about being in a new situation. And do I fit? Do I belong? And I've had the experience of belonging here. So I'm reasonably confident it will return. But I am kind of like Tina, I really feel what's going on in the States. And it really breaks my heart and it terrifies me. That I think that we are losing democracy. We're going down a rabbit hole. And people are suffering as a result. And it just drives me crazy. And when I think about the people that I really love over there, one of them died this week. And he was in the hospice. I found out he was in a hospice, and I called one of his sons, or made contact with one of the sons, and they held the phone down next to his ear so I could speak to him to say goodbye. And then it just really tore my heart out a bit. I mean, it felt right. And I remembered Ty's teachings, and I just told him what a good job I thought he'd done with his life, and what beautiful things he'd done, and how much he had given to the world, and how well his children and his grandchildren were doing, and to give him some positive as he was going. And he died the next morning. So I'm really feeling it, because I've thought about trying to get a flight to see if I can make it to the funeral, but I think that in the time of COVID, to try and get to Colorado by next Friday is probably not realistic. So there's a lot of sadness and a lot of fear. And I'm probably avoiding it.
Not all.
I don't know, but it's,
Well, you're not avoiding
it's
all of it.
there.
I can feel it. So you're not avoiding all of it. It's there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So um, it's so beautiful what you said though about your friend and being able to um, send him off with a positive message. You know, I think that's just an incredible thing to do, an important thing that we do. You know, there's going to be a lot of change and there'll be a lot of death. And we're practicing here to be centered enough to be leaders in our community, in our own lives, and in the world for making a difference wherever we can. And in terms of the anxiety that you're feeling, I would make that a centerfold of my meditation, to allow myself to go into the anxiety and feel that fear and the depth of that fear. It feels to me like it's much bigger than your fear. It's an annihilation, Armageddon kind of fear. When I feel into the Maureen in me, it feels really big.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's the work. You know, the future is not determined, but what
No.
we do know is the future is determined by what we focus on and where we're focusing our attention. And you know, in the class next week, we're going to be talking about words and speaking. We talked about listening. We're going to move to speaking, but speaking also in our head. You know, so to go into that wounding and that fear that's much earlier, that feeds the anxiety that you're feeling about the world. You know, I mean, it's also, there's so much fear in the field, and it's being promulgated by mass media. You know, I mean, fear is being produced day by day in the newspapers, on television, you know, in the media. And it's in the field. And we're a group of people who are working together to be able to bring presence into the world. Meditation is simply a vehicle for us, just like contemplation and prayer are vehicles for bringing more presence into the world. So our awakening becomes the awakening of people around us. And I think that's really important to remember, because it's so easy to fall down the rabbit hole of fear and anxiety and overwhelm, and we're all going to hell in a handbasket.
Well, and I try to remember that, and what I tell myself is that the future is created by what we do today.
Exactly.
And so that I try and hold that, and I try to, if I'm talking to somebody about climate change or about the sufferings of the earth, I end up with something positive. I look for the positive news.
Good.
But I try not to avoid the negative news, because I think we also need to be motivated, and excuse the expression, but need a kick in the ass to do what needs to be done to avert what can be averted.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, you know, I'm grieving the Colorado that used to be. And just feeling that, but also holding the positive.
Yeah, it's
And-
very
and-
important to do both. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's kind of tough, but I have a garden that I planted for the bees, and I go out and talk to the bees, and I talk to the birds, and working on biodiversity in the community and whatever. But also aware of mortality at the same time. So that's background for me because of my age, to say, okay, how many years do I have and what kind of difference can I make? And then my ego pops up that says, well, you're supposed to be solving all this. And I go, I don't think so, but I really want to stick around long enough to see a shift,
Mm,
to see a shift
yeah.
that says the little ones. And I have talked about her before. You know, Hope Elizabeth Adventure Smith is top and foremost in my mind, as well as a little girl named Aoife over here, who's 3, who keeps asking her mom if she can go over and visit Maureen, which I'm just thrilled that she wants to come visit. So I'm kind of all over the place, Michael.
I get it. And you're doing good work, Maureen.
Mm.
You know, yeah.
And the other piece this week is that I could feel all the things, the regrets where I hadn't shown up for my friend. He was 96 and he thought for the last 30 years, he's told me he's in love with me. Right. But there's like a 27-year difference. So he would complain about my boundaries pretty vociferously.
Cute.
But I kept my boundaries, and now today I was feeling kind of guilty for not being there for him more, but aware that his expectations were not mine.
Yeah.
But wanting to be there anyway.
Yes, boundaries are important, and how we set them is very important. We're going to talk about that in the course fairly
Yeah.
soon. Yeah.
And
So
if for people, just if you hold him in your heart, his name was David Quintana, and he was a cabinet maker, wonderful woodworking. He suffered a lot of bias and prejudice in his lifetime, and he raised 4 wonderful kids, 2 of whom are pediatricians. But I got to witness his anger at being arrested for a burglary that he had nothing to do with, simply because he was Hispanic, having been from one of the really old families in southern Colorado, New Mexico. And he fought in World War II in the Pacific.
wow. Beautiful.
And he was shorter than me. So thank you.
Sweet memory.
Yeah.
Sweet memories. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you. And I feel like I wonder if I've lost my sanity.
You haven't.
Thank you. Keep telling me that.
But if I don't take a bio break myself, I'm going to lose my sanity. So I think
Thank you all.
we're a little past the time. I know Ray and Ann, we still got to go. So let's just take, can we do 8 minutes? Is that enough for a bio break? Be back at, what is that, 8 minutes? That would be 10 minutes to the hour. Okay, good. All right, thanks. That's why I have to take bio breaks. I drink so much tea. Hey, Buddha. Want to say hello to people? Huh? Did you want to say hello? Oh, my goodness. This is Buddha.
Hi, Buddha. I love that breed. They're so smart.
Center of attention, don't you? Don't you like to be the center of attention? Yes, you do. You've been such a good boy. Such a good boy, yeah. Yeah, he's a good boy. Aren't you? Huh. It's my boy. Oh, you want a kiss too?
Is this Buddha?
This is Buddha.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Buddha.
Hello. Say hi. He sees you waving. Okay, we will at 1 o'clock take a lunch break. And we're gonna talk with Ray and Ann and then get into doing some meditation. Okay, thank you. Thanks, buddy.
I brought Jewel to me, Buddha.
Oh, hi, Jewel.
You might hear her shrill if I have to, because she can really do a nice little. Anyway, this is Jewel.
Hi, Jewel.
Yeah, hi,
I
Jewel.
have Juju behind me.
Oh, I see. I know. I saw.
Oh.
Nice. We love our animals. Okay, Ray or Ann, which one?
I'll go.
Okay.
Well, for me, meditation, I'm still not doing anything more than 20 minutes, and actually, I like to start out by listening to either Deepak Chopra or the Tagar. He's a Tibetan monk, and he does a meditation for beginners. So I'll listen to that. And they each have different. There's a 3-minute, a 5-minute, a 10-minute. And I'm still not doesn't work for me to just try to meditate on my own, because then I just think all my thoughts. I don't think I'm really meditating. I'm just having quiet time.
You're meditating, Ann. It's it's just to notice the thoughts and get grounded and allow them to settle. It's kind of like if you have a glass of muddy water, you put it down on the table and you pay attention, you watch it, it'll do it without you watching it, but in your own head, watching your thoughts, the muddy water will just settle to the bottom and you'll have clear on the top, and the mud will settle to the bottom. And it's kind of like that when we're meditating is, the next meditation we're going to do will help just to settle that. There's nothing wrong with 20 minutes is fine if that's what works for you. And there's also nothing wrong with listening to something to kickstart it, to get it going, as long as it doesn't put you more in your head. And sometimes it can do that if you're certain kinds of people's meditation actually puts you more in your head rather than less. They're giving instructions, and then we try to follow instructions, and then we think we're doing it wrong, or is this the right way? And all of a sudden we're lost in the chat room.
Got it. Yeah.
So acknowledging yourself that you're doing 20 minutes a day, that's fabulous. And then in this next meditation that we're going to do, just notice how moving your attention, focusing on your breath, the things that we're going to do in that will help you to just quiet the mind when you sit down. And the other thing is the pause meditation, which I don't know if I think at some point I taught most of you that, is just stopping. When you're in the middle of anxiety or stress or something happening, just stopping, whether you're standing or sitting, whatever, just stop and take 3 deep breaths and just notice what's going on. Notice the external world, the horizontal, and the what's going on inside, and just for a moment, and let the muddy water settle a little bit so you have clear water. Yeah.
Well, I do have a question, Michael. I've heard a lot of people say that the best time to meditate is in the morning, and that you should actually get up early in the morning, like 5 or 6 in the morning, because there's an energy field that you can tap into. And apparently this is what people in India do.
Well, there's a number of reasons for that, that is, considered to be an ideal time. One of them is, I think it's called Van Ryan's belt, that precedes the sun. It's the flotsam and jetsam around the Earth, all the space stuff and asteroids and all those things. And it's kind of like a reflective shield. And there's not a lot of noise and movement in the world. So it reflects, your own energies reflected back to you, your soul energy. But I happen to like early morning because first of all, if I get busy in my day, the day will be gone and I won't have meditated. Secondly, it is a quiet time for me. And, I do my Tai Chi and Qigong first to kind of fully get in my body, and then I do my meditation afterwards. So it's nice to get a little bit embodied when you first get up, and I'm trying to move from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock because I've been getting up at 4 for a long time, and I'm trying to move that so that I'm getting 8 hours sleep because I'm a little worried about my memory. And sleep loss is one of the reasons we have memory issues. One of them. So, yeah. So you're doing fine. Yeah. What you're doing, yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes we think we're doing it wrong, but like I said, there's no bad meditation. There's no wrong meditation. If you're sitting down on the cushion with the intention of getting still, quieting the mind, checking the internal world, feeling your feet on the floor, getting grounded, that's meditation.
Okay.
And a lot of people have a lot of rules about meditation and what you shouldn't do. That's I don't follow that. I don't subscribe to that. I just want to acknowledge what you are doing, and you're doing 20 minutes a day. That's awesome. And
Oh no, not always. Not always, but
that does not make you a bad person if you miss some. honor that. Yeah. Oh, I missed. Yeah. But thanks for the authenticity. I appreciate it. That's great. Anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I just thank everyone for sharing and telling their stories, their experiences. It makes a difference. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Beautiful. All right, my friend Ray, what's going on there, Hot Rod?
I've up the.
Okay. All right. We're in the same room, so we have to turn her iPod off and mine back on again, get the echo out of the conversation. Like Anne, I want to echo the wonderful feel we have everybody share themselves so well about what they're going through, meditating stuff. I'm more like Vincent, and I have beginner's mind about meditating. I don't have a meditation practice per se. I don't do 20 minutes like Anne does sometimes. It's more like I have the movement meditation. Like this morning, I went for a walk around the block with the trees to get centered. If I'm mowing my lawn, I'll be meditating more on my lawn. If I'm doing any working on my car stuff, building parts, and literally like meditation, being present with what's happening in front of me right now. And it's like last few days been kind of great. My son been in town. My son moved to Texas 2 years ago, and he's actually moved back to South Carolina, and mostly because his mother had moved along. And it's interesting. He was in town on Wednesday evening, and we met up in Jim Boy's Tacos, our favorite place to go. And he wants to know, what's tell my mother about being here in town? So I haven't talked to your mother. Well, she knows I'm in town. She was literally a mile away from where we were at, visiting because he's out of she had to move out of the fire zone up in the mountains in the Sacramento. And it's a mile away. And he said, well, she just knows we're here. The universal language, what's going on. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do anything about it. I could call her up and say, hey, Ryan's in town. You want to talk to him? You want to meet? You guys connect. He's only here for 2 days. He left Friday morning, go back to with his daughter, my granddaughter, moved back to her car back to South Carolina. And so I was like being present in what's happening. We spent a lot of time talking last Thursday night about our family and his mother and how it is for her, for him, and it's just loud how it was being for them, and bring love and peace to conversation. And that's what I've been doing in my meditation. Now I'd be like, last night, Mike called me. I was sleeping, watching TV. Oh, you should be meditating. Well, I'm sleeping. I'm meditating. And I was working on a problem. We're going to Canada, and I'm going to tell that story. And you can't find a passport. And I'm like so stressed out about conversations. You finally find a passport, and I'm like, ah. So I was a jerk. I'm tense. I'm angry with her. What? And I just went to the couch and sat down on the couch, and just present myself, present to all the conversations having, how the way I was being about my identity, a threat there, and it's like, okay. And that took about 3 minutes. I said, Anne, I apologize. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. And that was it. And that's been my form of meditating at the moment, at the time, was going at the same time, and being present what's happening, witnessing and observing and embracing. Okay, I'm being crazy right now. So be it. And then let go of that and drop it. So that's, and I'm looking forward to actually deepening my practice of meditating, because when I do meditate, it's very, very peaceful, calm. It's like I spent maybe an hour nighttime. Okay, that was peaceful. Didn't get anywhere, didn't have to go anywhere. And that's it. So that's what I've experienced so far. So I don't have any questions about meditating. I'm learning more about what you're talking about, Michael, and stuff, and being present in my body. Like when I was tense right now, I want to talk fast. I'll slow down, be present with people. So thank you. And that's what I got.
Thanks, Ray. Thank you. Yeah. Well, mindfulness is the doorway to meditation. So it's important to do that. And you follow your own what works for you. I don't want anybody to make their meditation to be a burden. But we're gonna do a meditation now.
Yes.
So let's do that, and see where that takes us. So there's a number of different meditations I want to do today, and let's just first of all be prepared to do a meditation. So we're sitting with a straight back, and sometimes I find that a lot of times people will meditate and their head will go up, but if you want a straight spine, pull your chin down like almost to your chest, and then find the even point right there when you're doing meditation. You can meditate with your eyes open, of course, and that's actually a good practice sometime, because like when we're practicing being with each other, you need to stay in your body. And oftentimes when we connect with someone else, we leave our body. So having your eyes open is fine. Having your eyes closed is fine also. I tend to like having my eyes closed, but I do sit, particularly when I'm in nature, and do eyes open exercises. So let's just let our eyes go closed if that's what you want, or if you want to leave them open, that's fine too. And just start by feeling your weight, that you're in a body. And everything that happens in your body. It's the cup that holds everything else. So we just want to notice that we're in a body. Feel our feet on the floor. and begin to notice the breath. The breath is a cycle that you can depend on. You were born into it, and it'll be there until your last breath. And the breath contains the history of everything that has happened both to you and to your ancestors. So just noticing this breath. Notice how we might judge the breath. Oh, I should be breathing deeper or more fully. No, just notice the breath that's yours right now. Notice the in-breath, the pause, and the release on the out-breath. Pause, the in-breath, pause, and release. And noticing the air as it comes into the nostrils. See if you can feel the warmth or the coolness of it, temperature. The volume of air that comes in. Tracing it into the inner body. How the diaphragm expands, the belly. And then on the out breath, releasing and feeling how the belly goes in, diaphragm collapses. Pause. And breathing in again. And we're just watching the breath. And notice how the breath affects your face as you breathe. Notice how it affects your hands. And feel the tingling sensations. So energy flows where the focus on the breath goes. So take some other part of your body and move your sense of the breath. Let's say your lower back. Feeling the breath expanding. And on the out breath, maybe elongate the out breath a little bit. So it takes you deeper into the body. Focusing your awareness and your breath on the feet. Notice the connection with the earth, the four corners of the feet. And see if you can feel the flow of energy in the feet. And the energy coming up from the earth. And the movement of energy in your lower legs. Your knees. And if there's an area where there's some pain or tension, just allowing yourself to feel that pain or that tension. Notice if you want to make a story about it, and just let go of that. Just release the story. Focus on the sensations in your thigh and hamstrings. And just noticing how you can shift your awareness to different parts of the body, to the hips and the pelvic floor. And using the breath to feel the tailbone against the cushion, the seat. And using your breath and awareness to go up the spine. And feeling the flow of energy. Noticing if there's any numb places, any tense places. Painful places. Restricted. Feeling that connection all the way to the earth and up the spine, all the way up the back of the head and up through the crown. Feeling that vertical awareness. Feeling the breath in the lateral muscles. Can you feel the movement in the side body when you breathe? Using the breath to focus the awareness. Going deeper into the body, feeling the kidneys. The liver. The spleen. Your gut. One of the three brains. Noticing the solar plexus, the front of the body. Feeling the interior aspect of the chest. Does it feel tight or relaxed? Open, closed. Feeling into the heart space. Feeling how the heart connects with all the extremities, the flow of blood, energy through the nervous system. Movement. In the throat. Feeling the jaw, is it relaxed, or is it tight? Bringing breath, bringing awareness, bringing presence. Noticing any thoughts that might arise, just releasing them. They go. And really attuning to the inner body. And letting your awareness go to the outer body. Feel the shape. What's the shape of your life? The shape of your body. And feel the sensitivity in the skin, the energy around the body. Let's see if you can feel the walls of the room, the ceiling. The floor. Can you take your awareness outside the house? Coming back to the breath, noticing if you're holding into the neighborhood. Into the town or the city, just get a sense of being a body in a place that's breathing. How far out can you feel? How far out can you hear? What's the softest, quietest sound you can hear? Listen with your whole body. And begin to bring your awareness back into your body. Feel that sense of drawing yourself back into the body. Coming back to the interior. And just feeling the energy flow. Noticing anywhere it's stuck, where it's moving. What are the parts I'm most aware of? What are the parts I'm least aware of? Knowing that everything that happens in the body. Just taking a few more deep breaths. And as you're ready, softly begin to open your eyes, bringing yourself back into the field, the community, as you're ready. Practicing being in your body and with the other people. Noticing your breath. And getting a sense of the feel for the field. A sense of being connected. And maybe move your body a little bit, stretch a bit. Yeah. Feel the movement. Yeah. Bodies need to move. Yeah. So let's kind of look and see what happened there, bring ourselves fully back, and let's just open it up for any questions or comments or anything about your experience that you want to share. We'll keep going a little bit deeper here with this. Yeah.
This is the second time this has happened. And I get it's like a 1/10 of a second still photograph, and it's just like one after the other. It's just totally random. And it's just like I just sit back, it's this interesting mind thing. And I don't try to do anything with it other than I just watch it. But it's just like flash, 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 and like 100 still photographs go by in just like a couple seconds, and then it stops.
Interesting. Yeah, I have nothing to say about that. Just interesting. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm either losing my mind or finding my mind. I'm not sure which.
No, it's when things like that happen, just be curious. It's always to be curious about, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
The majority of what is available in our senses, we barely touch. So just to notice it and be curious. Oh, what's that? I mean, I could say lots of things of experiences like that, but that's your experience, and that's something that's just like, you don't need to figure it out. Just go home. It's curious.
Yeah, it's not like the images have any import or meaning. It's just almost like the mind's filling the gap, or just doing what it does. I don't know. It's just I just thought it's in the month or so I've been doing it, that's the second time that's happened. So it is curious. It's just like
Yeah.
The mind is an interesting thing in its own.
And I just be bringing curiosity to it. I mean, that's we know that's not the stillness that's possible, but we can be in a still place and observe that, because the awareness. So again, it's that bifurcation between the, the identity, which has one purpose, and that's its own survival, and then awareness. So where is awareness when that's happening? Where's your awareness at that?
I'm sitting there watching it. Thanks.
Exactly. Yeah, good. Thanks. Good. What else? How was that for you, Ray?
Just peaceful, being present in my body, and while going through the process, I'm like, well, I'm ahead of you, behind you, to talk about it all. And then I'd have a little twitch, my leg would twitch, and there it go. It twitch again, well, there it is again. And just be present and breathe, and notice notice what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all there is to do. That's good. Yeah. What else? What's present for people?
I can say, it's easier to stay in this place when we do it together, in terms of presencing, especially when you led us through that, extending the feeling beyond our body and beyond the walls. And I was able to keep extending to the mountains and the water all around me. And it just felt like I was able to really, when you said something about, I don't know, somehow being with your whole body, and I was listening with my whole body, and I felt like I could be a vessel for this place, but it was like the place was a vessel for me. And it was happening. Anyway, I think just doing it together allowed me to just stay present with it. It feels really good.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, it's much easier to meditate in I forgot who else said that too. Was that Pippa? About having a sangha, having a community to meditate in. Obviously that, creates a field that we can be in. Yeah, thanks. Good. I got it. When you described it, I had a clear image of what you were seeing. The water and the mountain and thank you. It's a kind of a what do you call it? I forgot what you call it when you see something through somebody else's eyes somewhere else. It's really sweet.
Remote viewing.
Remote viewing. Thank you. Yes. But remote viewing through her eyes. Interesting. Yeah. Anything else?
Oh, well, one thing I noticed, Michael, was when you asked us to take a deep breath, it felt so good. And yeah, and then to expand and feel your entire body. That felt, it felt perfect at that time. So that's something that I appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that you can easily do on your own. Just, really do a body scan. We'll do some more body work here. I'll do another probably before lunch meditation. We need to include emotions in here also, and then the mind. So yeah, I was just going to look and see if I had anything else. Did anybody else? Thank you, Anne. Anybody else have anything they wanted to say? Just looking here to see if anyone, no? Okay.
Well, this is Maureen, and I took, whoops.
You there?
It tells me I cannot start video, so I don't know what's going on. So I'll just talk for now and then I'll figure it out.
Okay.
I went, I went traveling and to a sacred place that I really love and hung out with a tree there.
Hmm.
It was lovely. So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do some of that traveling when we start doing more of the shamanic journeying in the course.
yeah,
But it's really nice to have a place like that to go to. I often do that, particularly when I do lower world journeys, which we'll talk about later.
yeah,
that.
and Michael, it tells me that I have to find another camera, which I don't have. So
Oh.
I'll exit and I'll come back.
Okay. All right.
I'll restart. Reboot.
Technology. Yeah, that's good.
See you all shortly.
Okay. Just going to look through my notes here and see if there's anything I wanted to say that I haven't said. So, I talked about, there was one thing I was going to say. A couple things, actually. So, safety is always a huge thing, not just when you're in a group, but just feeling safe. And you've probably seen that I often spend a fair amount of time making sure that there's a sense of safety, trying to check out where everybody is. You may or may not notice that, but it's something that I'm always scanning for. And there's 3 areas that the nervous system needs in order to be safe. So the first is context. You need to be clear about the why and the how that the situation provides for the nervous system. Like, why am I here? What is this? What are we doing together? Are we aligned? Do we have an intention? So context of the place, and also having a setting that is conducive. So when there's a lot of chaos around you, maybe you're in the closet meditating with piles of books. I don't think you're probably in the closet, but just an example of, a lot of stuff piled around. So you want the situation and the intention to be clear. And then choice is another area that the nervous system needs to know it has a choice. I can, you always have a choice to say no. There's no, if the nervous system feels trapped, you're not going to have a very deep meditation. So that sense of choosing to do that, because if the nervous system feels there's any kind of danger, then it's in survival response. It's racing or it's shutting down. It's one or the other. It's going really fast or it's just freezing. And so there has to be a real, that's why community is so powerful, when everybody knows they have a choice. You can do this, you can not do this, you can say this and not say that. And then connection. Really being able to connect with the body in a deep way. So those are the things, when I'm really pushing things away, I can't it's not safe for the nervous system because I'm pushing things away. So safety is a huge thing. And I'm going to talk about emotions. So let's see, are we going to have time to do that? Yeah, let's talk about emotions. And we might do a meditation after that. So what's an emotion? So I distinguish, as we've talked about, feelings from emotions, even though feelings which are of the mind, I have an angry thought. It produces the same kind of result in the body, but it isn't the same as feeling the anger in the body, feeling the rage, feeling the fear, feeling the sorrow and grief, feeling these feelings in the body. Because if you're feeling it in the head, you're never going to integrate the things that are behind that. So it's really important to be embodied and feel the emotions in your body. And for some people, that's just that they're just too numb. I mean, I work with people, and I myself was that way at one point. I could not feel my feelings. I had to practice asking myself, what are you feeling right now? And learn how to attune to the subtleties of my feelings in order to begin to feel them and feel the nuances of them. Oh, wow, I'm feeling a little anxious, and of course I gave you the mad, sad, glad thing to work with on looking at that and seeing, where do I feel that in my body? So that's a practice tool. So emotions are just vibrations that show up as sensation, and mostly it's either a contraction or an expansion, a lifting or a sinking, or a churning or a pulsing. There's this closing and opening, closing and opening. That's what's happening in the body with emotions all the time. And well, the quickest way to not feel an emotion is to hold your breath. So you'll notice when you're afraid, or when you're sensing shame, you hold your breath. So if you want to not feel something, hold your breath. And what happens is, when we hold our breath, which happens really, really young, it becomes an adaptive pattern. So whenever fear comes up, we hold our breath. We don't notice it necessarily, but we do that. So the breath, and why I worked with the breath in the first meditation, is the breath is a tool for self-regulating. If you're feeling any kind of intense emotion or intense feeling, go to the breath, feel it in the body, and track it in the body. Because all these emotions are preceded by a bodily sensation. So when you're having an emotion, there's always before that some sensation that happens, or at least concurrently with it. Let's see. Yeah. And just noticing when we try to push it away, when we try to get rid of it, when that there's a natural habitual response that we get into of, nope, not going to feel that, and we shove it down. So the energy or emotion then gets trapped in the body as a constriction, as a tightness, as it's soul loss is what it is. It gets stuck in your body. So we were talking about in the meditation feeling the outer body. So there's neuroception, proprioception, and interoception. So neuroception is how our nervous system distinguishes whether it's safe. So that's our observation of the world. Is it safe? And proprioception is, where am I in life? It's the position that I'm in, the movement of the body. So as I move through space, lots of people don't have, someone you might say is clumsy, bumping into things or not actually in their body in space. But what we are primarily focused on here is interoception, which is the sense of our interiority, our internal sense of our body, and the receptors in the body that tell us how we're feeling, what's going on. So if I'm a child, say I'm 3 years old, and the body feels bad. It feels bad. Well, the natural progression in that is the body feels bad, I feel bad. That's because we're starting 3 years old, we're starting to have an identity. I feel bad, therefore I must be bad. So it goes from a sensation that I feel bad to our body sensation feels bad, I feel bad, to I must be bad. They don't understand that the shame or the guilt they're feeling is from something inappropriate or missing in the environment. So somebody isn't there for me and looks away, and I'm going, I feel bad. And they're looking away, I must be bad. And I have some things I wanted to go through with you to show you different ways that we form these attachment theories or experiences, attachment experiences. So a child is never capable of making their caregiver, no matter how beastly they might be. They may be beating the child or whatever. A young child cannot make the caregiver wrong, because life is dependent on the caregiver. So it always comes back, I'm wrong, I'm bad, I've done something shameful. So because we can't make our caregiver wrong, and that's where we form these early attachment senses like that. So I'm the one who's bad, I'm wrong, I'm unlovable. And then that's where shame and guilt comes in. And if we have a choice of whether to be real, be authentic, or be attached, we will always sell out authenticity to attachment until we reparent and take care of that part that wasn't loved, wasn't seen, wasn't held, wasn't felt. Which is why there's so much inauthenticity in the world. So much posturing, so much structure. The poster child of early abuse and attachment issues is Donald Trump. Has no capacity to feel himself, to feel his feelings.
Michael, can I give an example of what you were just talking about before that, of feeling bad about that? Yes. I feel bad, therefore I am bad. I have two examples from my childhood that I just recently have been dealing with, and just the striking difference in them is that in my whole total remembrance of nursery school is that I was bad, because my teacher would put me in the cubby when I acted out. And that's all I remember about nursery school, is being in the cubby and how bad I felt about myself, that I was bad. However, in kindergarten, I went to a kindergarten down the street that I walked to with my friends. And it was just 2 years later, and I was also acting out. So my teacher would send me to the kitchen, and the cook would give me crackers and love on me. And so I didn't, I had a wonderful kindergarten experience. I mean, it would just, then it would dissolve and I'd go back and play and be happy. So, it was just about could I find acceptability in that place? And it was the external caregiver, the secondary one, who gave that to me and at that time. So that made all the difference for that
Perfect
child.
example. Yeah. Yeah, it's really a good example. Yeah, you just brought back some of my first grade. I was at a Waldorf school, and the first Waldorf school in the country, actually, in New York. And we spoke 2 languages. We went to the big swimming pool. We played recorder. I thought, oh, right, school is cool. My second grade, we went to San Bernardino, California, and I went to public school. This was also where my dog died, but I was, had this boring teacher, Mrs. Jones, I still remember. And I just got up and, was ignoring her because it just seemed all stupid to me. And she tied me she came back and said, "Young man, sit down." And she tied me in my chair with rags. And of course, the whole class is laughing at me. And, that kind of shame. But of course, we always adapt to it. And that's the part I want to point to for what you're saying, is how we adapt. So when she turned around and went back to her desk, I hopped after her in my chair, and then she'd turn around and I'd sit there like this, and then I'd hop after her, and the kids were all laughing and she didn't know what was going on. And it kind of eased the shame, the deep shame I was feeling. So it's really important, because for every one of those places that we've shut down something, we have an adaptation. And often those adaptations become our strengths. We become really smart, we become pretty or cute, or we become strong, So our strong suit that we have in life is often an adaptation, which is why it makes it even harder when we meditate than to touch those places where the shame or the fear or the badness or all of that stuff is lodged in our body, because it threatens our not just our identity, but it threatens our identity, but not just the part of our identity that I'm bad, or I'm, not a good person, or I'm unlovable, but it threatens the part that we adapted to cover up that. So you see how it can get really stuck in there. That's part of being, when I say stuck in your identity, and that's what I'm talking about. You can really get stuck in it. I mean, why would I lose my ability to, like Ray's really good with parts and putting things together and making things and stuff like that. But, what would, if there was something came up, well, that was an adaptation. Sorry, I'm picking on you, Ray, but you're so easy to pick on. So there's an adaptation there. So if he was going to do that, it would also threaten his genius of, being able to make things and create things. So why would he want to give up that? So that's something to really look at as we become more and more have an interior intelligence. The more we do that, the more challenging it is to let go and really zoom in on the reparenting part, the loving part, loving that part, not to sacrifice the thing that we want to hold on to that was our adaptation. It's kind of cool how it all works. I mean, everything has a function, There is absolutely, I mean this, I'm not saying this to be nice. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you or anyone else. There are simply adaptations and functions which are designed to protect you and make you feel safe from the times when you made up decisions that something was broken or wrong. But it's all an adaptation. The nervous system is your friend. It is here to protect you. It's here to love you. And it's not going to let go until you make room for it to let go. And again, so when we're doing meditation, it's going to bring up parts of us that have been wanting to be seen, but have been being in check because we've been being protected by the nervous system.
And can I say something?
Yeah, please.
When you said the thing about your adaptations, one of the struggles I've had with meditation is my adaptation was to get really good at thinking things out. And in meditation, you don't think things out. So it's been really hard for me to let go of that because my ego was really attached to being the one that can solve problems. And what I'm finding now, as I'm letting go of that, is that my intuition is a much greater strength, but I buried that because I couldn't intellectually explain that. So it was really, I can't believe how hard that was to let go though, that I have a good brain, but I don't really have a good brain. It's just, it was like a muscle I developed. It's not, it's like I would call it an average brain, but the insights I'm getting through intuition are so much better. But so it's just hard. And I still have the trouble of, now I'll say something stupid because my intuition says say something, and then I say something, I think, wait, that was really dumb. Why did I say that? And then my ego gets triggered. But then it's like, it's part of the thing of letting go of like, oh, I want to be the smart one. So it's been,
That's so brilliant, Kristen. That's absolutely accurate as I see it. And that struggle is such a great description of the struggle. Yeah, beautiful example. Thank you. Yeah. Anything else about that? I don't think we really have enough time to do before lunch another meditation, but we'll do much more meditating in the second half here. But these are a lot of things I wanted to cover. Is there anything else that anybody wants to say before I go through another little piece here that I can fit in? No? Okay.
That really helped to focus in on how when we're meditating, we can come up against that adaptation, and that threatening feeling is what's at play. That really helped to name that. Thanks.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Let me find something that I wanted to go through with you if I can find it. Oh, there's two things. Okay. Let me go to this other one I was thinking of first. Okay. So this is something therapist named Gordon Neufeld about personality patterns. So I wanted to read this and then a quote by A.H. Almas. So when you don't get the attention that you needed, you become consumed with attracting attention. It's kind of obvious, but when you don't get the attention that you needed, you become consumed with attracting attention. If you didn't get the approval you needed, you'll be consumed with winning approval and having a winning personality. If you were not valued, you'll be craving to measure up to other people's expectations so that they can value you. If you weren't made to feel special, you may be very demanding. If you weren't, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking of somebody, not in this group. If you weren't esteemed for just who you were, you'll want to impress people. If you weren't esteemed for just who you are. If your importance as an individual wasn't valued, you might end up in the helping profession, helping people all the time. That'll give you a sense of importance. It will also, by the way, burn you out, which a lot of caregivers recognize. If you weren't liked for who you were, you'll be very, very nice. You'll be liked by being nice and suppress some of your authentic expressions of yourself. If you weren't loved, you might become very charming. That's mine, being charming. I don't know, maybe not. Not always, I guess. If you weren't recognized for who you were, you might be concerned with seeking status. You might become very successful and yet empty inside because the movement to get validated is always from outside you. It's always the outer source, and it hurts you. Yeah. So, but there's a quote I wanted to read, which I've said in many ways, but do you know who A.H. Almas is? A.H. Almas started the diamond meditation approach, I think it's called. I've forgotten what it's called now, but he's a really well-known thinker, but kind of not as mainstream. But this is something he says: your conflicts, all the difficult things, the problematic situations in your life are not chance or haphazard. They're actually yours. They're specifically yours, designed specifically for you by a part of you that loves you more than anything else. The part of you that loves you more than anything else has created roadblocks to lead you to yourself. You're not going in the right direction unless there's something pricking you in the side, telling you, look here, this way. That part of you loves you so much that it doesn't want you to lose the chance. It will go to extreme measures to wake you up. It will make you suffer greatly if you don't listen. What else can it do? That's its purpose. What do you think of that? Any comment about it? That's a pretty bold statement.
I'll just jump in and say, I'm finally getting this. I would say absolutely.
You heard me say it in many ways over the years, but I think Almas says it so beautifully.
I mean, I was just reflecting on it, on conflict that I had, and I'm so grateful that I was part of this group, because it arose, I guess, last March, and it took place in our workplace with a colleague, and it just devastated me. And I am now I am so grateful to her, because in this conflict were the seeds of so many pieces of my own adaptations. I'm still unpacking, and it truly is the way forward. Like, it really is. These difficulties are such a wayfinder. That said, you definitely need help. Like, I needed help, like everything we're learning here and more. So I would agree completely with this statement, and it's too much to do on our own. It really is. It's so big.
Well, you can't do it on your own, technically. You can't heal the mind with the mind.
No.
You have to have some mutuality, so that you have the person that you had the conflict with. That's a foil, So
Yeah.
in the mutuality of that's how you can learn. This is the thing of difference between sitting in the cave and being in the marketplace of life.
Yeah.
You can go through a lot and learn a lot and have ecstatic experiences and everything in the cave. But in order to grow as from a soul and an evolutionary place, you have to have mutuality. Mutuality is love. It's presence. Presence, mutuality, and love are all the same thing. I'm just using another word that's more precise. What precision is also love. The more precise, the more we're experiencing love.
But I wouldn't say I found mutuality with my colleague. I found mutuality with this group.
And with yourself.
Yes, yes.
Mutuality with yourself, but that part of her that's in you
Yeah.
is what the mutuality was.
Yes. Yeah.
The what's her name?
Brooke.
The Brooke in Laura was the mutuality. And that put you up against the areas where you couldn't, your blind spots. It showed you your blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
One more effing opportunity to grow, right?
Yeah. And I'm really grateful.
So a little bit of a homework assignment. We're going to go till 2 o'clock for a lunch break. But I want to encourage you to do a walking meditation. So a walking meditation is a way to connect us with not just connecting with the earth by each step being, imagine that you're going to a holy place and you notice that you slow down and every step is connected to the earth. Well, the earth is a holy place and you are a holy person. And so we walk in reverence. We walk with an awareness of the elements around us, the ancestors behind us, the feet on the earth. And walking meditation is an amazing way to unite the body and the mind. I don't know if I told Maureen, did I tell you the story about being with Tay in at Plum Village and the bells? Okay, well, you know what I'm going to talk about. So I'll tell you a great story. So when I ended up, I was supposed to go skiing in the Dolomites and my friends backed out and I went, oh, okay, I'll go to Plum Village. And I ended up spending 3 or 4 weeks at Plum Village and in the winter, quite a few years ago. And I kept trying to call to confirm my reservation. And nobody would ever answer the phone. I was, God, what's wrong with you? They don't even have a answering machine, there's nobody there. So one day, it was like 3 days before I left, I just let the phone ring off the hook. And about 5 minutes, somebody actually picked up the phone. And I go, hello? And this voice on the other side said, hello. I said, and this is I'm Michael Stone, and I'm coming, and I got the train and the bus and the car, and I had to get to Plum Village, and oh, yes. And I just wanted to make sure that I was there, and everybody here, and then I did that, and will someone? Yes. Oh, okay. So I get there and there's the person and everything's fine. And I get there and I'm going, what's the matter with these people? Why don't they answer the phone? And, so I get into the dining room and then I realize every time there's a bell, they stop and take 3 breaths. I don't know if they did this when you were there, Maureen, but they stop and take 3 deep breaths.
They still do it. They have always done it and they will continue to do it.
And that includes
Wonderful.
the phone.
Absolutely. That's the bell of mindfulness, is the phone.
Takes 5 minutes to get across the room. And it's the same in the countryside because you're in the French countryside with all the churches around, and there's always bells going off from the churches on top of it. So if you do a walking meditation, you stop. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is do a walking meditation. You don't need to do the bells, but really conscious. It's a unification of the mind and the body with the earth and the natural rhythm of the earth. You don't have to.
Michael,
Yeah, please.
sorry, I just wanted to add the thing that was most helpful to me about walking meditation two things. One is kissing the earth with your feet,
Yeah, yeah, I love it.
kissing the earth, you know, with that love and gentleness.
Mhm.
And the other thing was, and I forget to do this sometimes, particularly if I'm in public, is synchronizing the breath with the feet.
Right, yes. Yeah, I was-
Whatever way is comfortable for you. It might be 3 steps for the in-breath, it might be 1. I mean, you don't force it, but it's being aware of the breath working with the feet.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
and speed, and I've heard Ty talk about this. If you're in Plum Village or you're with a group that's doing meditation or you're in the woods, you can go as slow as you want. If you're on your way to the office or to the train, you can still do it, but you do it at a different pace.
Mhm. That's
It
right.
doesn't have to be slow.
Yeah.
And I've watched films. There's one, I think it's like Walk Like Me, that recently came out. It came out a year or two ago. And I don't know if it's in it, but to see Ty do walking meditation in an airport is incredible. And he also did, this is a great story. He and the Sangha were climbing a mountain in the Himalayas near where the Vulture Peak, where the Buddha met with his disciples. And they had a guide, and they drove the guide absolutely crazy because it's a very high peak. And Ty gave them all instructions. You take 10 steps and you rest. And the guide was going nuts. We will never get to the top. Ty said 10 steps and rest. And then the guide was blown away because they all made it to the top and nobody was tired.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it can be adapted for all kinds of situations.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thank you for adding that. It's great. Sometimes you also can say different things to yourself, like breathing in, I'm feeling peace. Breathing out, I'm sending peace. Or breathing in, I feel the healing of the earth. Breathing out, I'm healing the earth. You know, if that comes to you, that's something that he did a lot. Also.
The first one I learned of those was I have arrived.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
home.
right. I'm home. Right, right.
In
I've
the
arrived.
here and in the now.
Yeah. So, you know, you can do it in a very short area, you know, just walking in a circle in your yard, or, you know, I suggest going out and doing that, and have a bite to eat, and let's be back on the hour. So that'll be 51 minutes. Is that enough break for everybody to have a bite and do a walking meditation, maybe 10 or 15 minutes walking meditation, and come back and see how it is? Okay.
And Michael, I just want to say if I get a second wind, I'll be back.
Okay.
But at the end of lunch, it's going to be 10 o'clock at night here.
Yeah.
So I may see you all Wednesday night because I think I need some sleep.
We understand. It's very.
I know you do. Thank you.
All right.
I was going to say the same, Maureen, over here in Blighty.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought that I knew there was somebody else that was over on this side of the pond.
So Pippa and Maureen, if you don't see us, we're going to do a lot more meditation this afternoon. I just wanted to really deal you know, with the things that we want to look at that are often making meditation difficult for us, but we'll do more meditating this afternoon. So I'll have those meditations recorded, and
thank you.
yeah, okay. And somebody
Michael?
remind me to turn the recorder back on. And yes, Celia.
Yeah, just one, I have a good request. You know, the pieces you reference, could we get the citations for them?
Yeah, I'll just send them to you.
That would be great. Thanks.
Perfect. All right, loves. Have a great lunch. Have a great walking meditation, and we'll see you here on the hour. Take care.
Good night, all.
Bye. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
We have class tomorrow morning, don't we?
Yeah, I only realized that yesterday.
Realized it today. It's been a crazy, crazy schedule, especially trying to get everything done before I go on a couple days vacation.
How do you join up for the Mystic Cafe? Is that through Thomas Hubel's website or?
Go to the site and sign up for it. It's like, because I'm a charter member, I think it's a little cheaper for me, but I think it's $37 a month.
Oh, okay.
Worth it.
Okay, great.
Yeah. He doesn't hold anything back in the Mystic Cafe.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's not like junior teaching, he just full force Thomas.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, Tina, you're outside. Is that your backyard?
Yeah, you're seeing part of it. I mean, the sheds are our neighbors, but this right here is our backyard right here.
It's lovely.
And so I'm sitting on our patio, so the house
Nice.
is there. So yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
Hummingbird feeders behind me. They've been so active this week.
I see it.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, still waiting for, there's Lori, and Vincent is on his way. How was the walking meditation? Anyone want to report back? Anne, you want to report back?
You know, the first thing I noticed was the sun on my body. And I wasn't expecting that. And it was just being with it. And so then going through the shade into the sun, back and forth, that's what I was really aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
That's
Yeah.
good. Thanks. Go ahead, Rick.
Did you say? So I noticed when walking on the earth, kissing the earth, loving the mother, and then just I had this abiding sense of my own earthly mother soon to be going to join the ancestors. Her birthday's coming up. We're going to celebrate it next weekend. And I don't know if that's premonition or not, but she is 90. She's going to be 96. So, but just that gratitude for ancestor and that she will soon be joining that body. So just the incorporation of the earth and my ancestors and our ancestors is so beautiful. And then walking in the front yard, looking up and seeing the depth of the leaves with the sun beyond and the sky beyond, just how beautiful these 34-year-old trees are.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tina. That's lovely. Anyone else want to report back? Yeah, Vincent, please.
I just want to be in integrity and let everybody know that I did not do that exercise that Michael, I talked to you before we came on about my grandson and needing to get in touch with my grandson. And I'm very emotional right now. I just spent a lot of time working with my grandson who's 14. And I won't get into it, but it was an opportunity to be a good grandpa. And I'm just, I'm taking that in and I'm here.
What's
And,
his name?
Ivan.
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 And he's 7? No, 14.
No, he's 14.
14.
And he's an amazing guitar player. He's a natural, and I've been really supporting him in that. And he has hooked up with a Native American boy the same age. And I've been taking him up once a week. It's a 3-hour round trip drive. But anyway, this young Native American boy, his grandma died, and his best friend attempted suicide. And so I was helping him process. And when this is over, I'm going to have to do some processing on my own. It was a pretty deep, heartfelt. I love being grandpa. It's so amazing, and to be able to share with my grandson on that level, but whenever we go into the well, it can be quite emotional. So I just wanted to stay in integrity with the group and let you know that I didn't do that activity.
Thanks, Biss. And we will hold you and Ivan in the next meditation, which happens to be on tapping into the emotions. So
how apropos.
Rip, buddy.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, good. Okay, anything else about the walking meditation? So yeah. Okay, so it's us. And let's just start right out with emotion. Remember, I'll take you through actually the body too a little bit, because emotions are of the body. So we want to really feel what's happening when we are in the emotions, not just have the emotion, oh, I'm feeling sad, but where in your body are you feeling sad? So I'll walk you through that. All right. Anything else before we start?
I just want to share quickly. I did the walking meditation, but I had to walk my dog, so we walked together. But I was taking in the flowers, what's left of the flowers of the season, and they spoke to me in my heart, and that was very precious. And then I saw this senior dog trying to get into the car, and I could see the love between him and his owner, and the dog is wagging its tail like, I'm trying, Dad, I really am trying. And the patience, and I waited because I have a dog who's very spunky, and I didn't want her to startle the dog. So I just watched. It's an expression of nature, and before me, and so the dog eventually got in the car, and the gentleman sort of says, "I'm sorry, he's slow." I say, "Hey, it's all good. I'm just holding my dog back so she doesn't." It was beautiful to watch. That kind of connection. And then I came home, and I live in a high-rise building, and both elevators were out. And I thought, wow, talk about stillness. I mean, they both, like, they've never seen them. They both stopped. Their doors were open and they were not moving. So I had to walk up the stairs. But I thought that was just interesting. That had never.
How many flights did you walk up?
Oh, 2 steps. I live on the 2nd floor, but my dog, is not used to walking. And she's like, what? But anyway, it's just an observation. I don't know what that was about. It's never happened in all the years I've lived here. And, and the managers are all away for the holiday. So it's interesting. Anyway, so that was my walk.
I had this image of you doing the walking meditation and your dog also. One.
Well, she actually slowed down. She did. She walked with me in a pace, because she's usually, so yeah, so it was sweet. I think I got her in the vibe.
Okay, well, let's get ourselves into a meditative position, and just feeling your body and your weight. Noticing your feet on the floor. Really getting that sense of being grounded, being connected to the earth. Feel that nourishment coming up from the earth into the body, and that connection. And just doing a scan.
Hear you.
Volume right? Is it our speaker?
Here's
Hold on, I'll mute here. So yeah, so just getting a sense of being in the body, and then let's do a body scan going through your body. Again, feeling that sense of being grounded and just going through the body. And we're looking for any place that's got tension, pain, numbness. Numbness is never nothing. Numbness is a clue that something's being held. And see if you can feel the flow of energy. Really just feeling into the body. Feeling the tingling in the hands and feet. And just exploring the interiority, the movement, all the things that are working just fine without your help. Feel the pumping of blood, heartbeat. The nervous system keeping watch. The endocrine system. The digestive system. They're all just working fine. We don't have to worry about them. But we're just looking through the body and bringing awareness through the different body parts. And notice the mind and just let it settle down. Bring it, just whatever's there. Don't hold on or grasp, but just let it settle down. And now see if you can just get a scent of any emotions that are present for you. Fear, anger, sadness, joy, compassion, grief, shame. And just see if you can get a scent of an emotion. Or it could be several. Could be feeling a little fearful but sad at the same time. Or a little shame and anger. Just notice what's there. And where are the emotions occurring? Take your awareness into the body. See if you can locate the physical sensation of the emotion. And again, we're just scanning. a soft touch and a curiosity. Continuing to breathe. Noticing how with the out breath you can extend deeper into the body if you extend the out breath. Just looking for what's the flavor, emotional flavor that you're experiencing right now. Compassion, joy, sadness, grief, anger, shame. Locating it in the body. See if it has a movement or a shape. And just looking into the area where the emotion, bringing your awareness to the body. You're sensing it. Just say hello, make contact, get a felt sense of the emotion. It's in your belly, chest. Shoulders, liver, spleen, kidneys. Just getting curious. And when you name it and locate it in the body and make contact, see what the age is of it. Emotions often have an age stamp. You might immediately sense an age, maybe an event. Just stay with the arising. Don't go off on a chase, trying to track it down. Let it emerge. And maybe you can't feel anything right now, any emotion. That's fine. Just notice that. And if you do go to that sensation and you find an age, an earlier similar experience, let yourself kind of open to, again, not chasing, but just opening to that earlier experience. Notice if there are any decisions that are attached to it. Any strategies. Again, you're just curious, softly touching in. No working at it, no struggle. Maybe you're just being with the sensation or the felt sense. Whatever you're experiencing is exactly what you should be experiencing at this moment. Emotions are the fabric of relationship. Maybe there's a relationship attached to this emotion that you're feeling. And just notice that. And maybe there's a tendency to push that emotion away, not want to feel it. Notice that too. Or maybe it's one of those emotions we want to cling to and hold on to. Joy, happiness. Communion. And just notice that. Notice if you're still breathing, coming back to the breath. Follow the awareness. Where is the awareness wanting to move to? Where's the attention? What's the gift of this emotion, this feeling? And notice if it's easy to stay with it or there's a tendency to want to pull away. Just being curious. Regardless of where you are, that's exactly where you should be. There's no different or better place to be. Whether you're able to feel it or not, whatever comes up is exactly what should be coming up. And Just bringing yourself back fully into the body. Letting that exploration go a little bit. Thanking your body, thanking your emotion. And taking a few deep breaths together. And allowing yourself to come back into the community, into the Sangha, as you're ready. You might want to stretch a little bit. Yeah. And I just wanted to mention that I recommend when you're meditating to try to bring your chin down a little bit. It straightens your spine so the flow can go through your spine. Okay. Just happened to see that as I opened my eyes, so I wanted to share that. Body posture is important. Yeah. Good. Okay, emotions. How did we do with checking in with emotions and tracking them? Who would like to share? This is a meditation too.
I'll speak.
Thanks, Vincent.
So obviously emotion is pretty up for me.
Yeah.
And it's you know, I just feel it's, I guess the best way to explain it physically is like an expansion in my chest around my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked at it, it is really just this big silver ball. And when I started communicating with it, what came up was how interesting it is to, on this level, in this situation and context, to feel real deep love and compassion with grief.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went into it, and I have, you know, the love and compassion is interesting in that with my grandson, I didn't get to see him for the first 2 years of his life, even though we lived in the same town, because of the relationship with his grandmother and very complex situation. And that's all worked itself out and it's all good now. But back then it was really difficult. And but then after not seeing him at all for 2 years, I was his primary caregiver for the next 2 years. And had him multiple days in a row. And so Ivan and I have a very, very close and sacred relationship. And so part of what the emotion that I was feeling has to do with you know, if and my kids too, if they have a problem, they don't go to their mother or their grandmother, they come to me. So there's kind of there's always been this real role reversal as far as who is the compassionate and nurturing one, and who isn't so much. And so part of it is I just feel so much love and gratitude that he called me, and then he came over when I told him that I was going to be on a lunch break. I didn't anticipate the walking meditation. So I knew he was struggling with something. I said, well, come over on lunch break. And so he came over. And so there's a part of this feeling that is really joyful and compassionate and loving, because he is open enough to come to me. And we had an amazing talk. He's really concerned for his friend. And so that's where the grief comes in, is because the Covelo Round Valley Reservation, just north of us here, in the book called Murder and Vendetta, Covelo Reservation is called the Auschwitz of the American reservation system. And 7 tribes were rounded up by the US Cavalry, most of them from the northern Central Valley, and force marched over the hills. So every year there's like a mini Trail of Tears that they do the walk every year, they being the Native Americans and their friends and allies. And so there's just so much trauma and pain and suffering in that area that yeah, I just feel so much grief for that population. I feel so, you know, they have been so mistreated for so long. And I'm an empath, and I can really feel the pain of this young man who I've met, him and his family. A friend of mine is the guy that builds the caskets up there, and he makes all wood, pine, beautiful, natural caskets for the native population. And he did 3 this month. And so there's a real griefy aspect to this story, and it's just amazing to sit with it and sit with grief and love, kindness, compassion, all balled up in the same chest. And it's not negative. It's, you know, I mean, even with the grief in there, it's like what Annie Lamott and her partner who did the sacred symbols, or whatever they call it, the pearl. And so it's not manifesting as a darkness, and it's manifesting as something really beautiful, and yet the tears are still there. And I just recently found out that our tears have different chemical compositions depending on what kind of tears they are. So tears of frustration, anger, and trauma have a different chemical consistency than tears of love and joy and gratitude. And so you know, I'm just letting it be. I'm letting it feel, but I'm just so in touch with my emotional body right now. And through that meditation was really wonderful to look at the constituents of that complex of feelings, and to honor it and give it space. And I'm still a little choked up by it all, but it was a wonderful experience. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Beautiful, really well articulated, and it's just so beautiful to feel that in you. And you know, well, you've studied with Joanna, you know how important grief is to her and to her sense of the world. And I'm totally in alignment with that. We really need to grieve. It's not wallowing in grief, but it's to feel the grief that's there. There's plenty to feel without getting stuck in it. And I find that when I grieve or when I'm with people grieving, there is, like you said, also joy and compassion. It's like the other side of grief is love. You don't grieve something if you don't love it. So, it's an expression of love. And it's beautiful articulation, Vincent. I love the authenticity and the realness and the rawness of it too. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
It's beautiful. What else came up for people? Anybody just get nothing, which is fine because that's something. You want to talk about it, Kristen?
I've noticed that it's hard for me to, like, when something happens and then I have a reaction, it's hard for me to feel it at first because I grew up where I had to repress everything. But then if I tell someone later, like, hey, this happened to me, then it comes up. It's like a delayed reaction, I guess. But it's funny, when the thing actually happens, I just, there's nothing. It's, I feel so like disconnected or something.
There's not nothing. Nothing is something. Nothing, there's, it's really important to get this. It's numbness. It's a part that's been shoved down. So the concern or the fear of being overwhelmed, for instance, I have that about my anger. It's so pushed down because I'm so afraid it'll blow up the entire universe if I let it out. And that's a part of me that's like suppressed in me. And I work with it, but I mean, I'm very aware of it. But you have to recognize that the nothing, the numbness, and could you locate the nothing in your body? Did you have
No,
any?
it felt
Just numb.
It just felt like I felt very disconnected, like I was in a box or something, and then everything else was happening outside of it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's a great description of what happens. Now, what there is to do is just to continue to be with that when it comes up and allow yourself to really get curious and see if you can, see through the veil a little bit, or, just get a whiff, like perfume, like of the emotion that's there. Just allowing yourself to get a sense of it, not to make it up, not to use your mind, but to really, the first thing to do is know that where there's nothing, there's something that's holding nothing there. That's a mechanism of the nervous system. It's a numbness.
Well, with this particular thing, when I was telling my friend later, then I felt it, and it felt really, it was anger, and it felt really I really felt it. Like, I felt like I was on fire, and I had a headache, and I had to tell her I have to not talk now and I have to go lie down because that's how strong it was. But I thought it was just weird because to go from nothing to, like, it felt like to this complete opposite where I felt like I was going to explode. But I had to tell her, this is the thing that happened. And then as I was talking, it started to bubble up, kind of.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about when I say mutuality, and how emotions are the fabric of our interconnection with each other. And when we just hold on to them and don't feel them or don't share them with someone, then they turn into diseases, and they grow in not good ways.
So I guess I'm just gonna have to be with this delayed reaction thing and see what happens.
Yeah, and get more curious and more nuanced and more precise. when you say, delayed reaction, be more precise about it. Well, is there any feeling there at all? There's nothing. Okay. And then when I speak it, all of a sudden this, heat and anger starts flooding into me. So where, just get really curious about the edges of it, particularly in your body.
Mm.
Where did the heat start in my body? Where was the anger located in my body? What age was it? Did it have a shape? Did it have a pulse? Did it have movement? So you want to really use your entire emotional palette and your physical palette to explore and stay out of the head and just go in like you're an archaeologist doing an inner exploration.
Mm. Okay.
Also know that nothing's wrong and nothing's broken. It's really important because that allows it to free up a little more. When you're trying really hard to fix something, think of this. If you're trying to fix something, and if everything is in the moment, which it is, your past and your future and your present,
Mhm.
what is the statement you're making in the moment?
Um, okay, so my experience at the time is I wasn't trying to fix it because I didn't know it was there. And then I started
Right.
feeling it, but then now I'm going back and saying, why didn't I feel it when the thing first happened? So I guess now I'm trying to fix it.
Mhm.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to just make it clear that nothing's wrong, and the
Oh,
more subtle attention that you can pay and the more precision you can pay